Hello friends, welcome back to another Mother's Day tumbler tutorial. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a really cool glitter checkerboard tumbler. So we're starting out with a 30-ounce skinny straight tumbler. Now this is a sublimation tumbler, so it's already white. All you need to do is lightly sand the surface of your tumbler, wash it with dish soap and water, or spray it with rubbing alcohol, and then you can move right into your designing. So I'm going to start out by glittering my tumbler. I'm using my CRYSTALAC glitter glue here as the adhesive, but feel free to use any adhesive that you prefer. It doesn't really matter. The glitter I'm using for this base layer is Ermahgerd from Peachy Olive Glitters. You can use any white glitter that you want. If you wanted to, you could even use a colored glitter. I just really like the contrast of the colorful checkerboard that we're going to do with a white glitter. I just think it looks really crisp and clean. So I'm going to cover my entire tumbler with the glitter. You do not have to glitter the bottom of your cup. I just did because I put the glitter glue down there, but you're not going to see that part in the end. I let that glitter glue dry for about 2 hours, and then I went in to seal the glitter. Now this is an optional step when you're using a fine cut glitter, but like I always say, it makes your epoxy coats easier, so if you have the extra time, just seal the glitter because it will help you out in the end. So I'm gonna put my plain glitter glue. This is not mixed with water for this one. It doesn't matter what you use. I just had this one handy, so that's what I'm using. So I'm gonna brush that all over the cup, let it dry for another 2 hours, and then I'm gonna add 2 coats of epoxy to the tumbler. For those coats, I'm using my Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Fast Cure Epoxy, and I'm waiting about 4 hours in between each coat, and I used probably 20 to 25 milliliters for each of those coats. So now that we've got our cup glittered and epoxied and smooth, we can add our checkerboard template. Now this template is one that I created, so I will put it on my website if you'd like to use the same one. I'm also going to, of course, give it to my Elite Fam members for free, so if you'd like to get in on all of the free files I give my Elite Fam, you can sign up at patreon.com/elitefam. So I cut my template out of just regular white vinyl, and I'm going to trim the edges from around it. So what I want to be left with is just the template. I don't want any excess backing or vinyl or anything around any of the edges. We're going to apply our transfer tape to our template. We're not weeding out the checkerboard at this point. We are leaving everything just the way it was cut, and we're going to apply the transfer tape to the entire piece. So once I've got that on, I'm going to again cut away all of the excess edges from the transfer tape. I want to make sure that I don't have any sticky parts hanging off that are going to mess me up in applying my checkerboard. Also, one thing that I should have done that I didn't do beforehand is cut away a few of the extra squares, because the design we're going to do is kind of similar to the Choose Happy cup that I did a couple weeks ago. We're going to leave a vertical strip on the tumbler for our decal to go, and I could have cut my template shorter before applying it to the tumbler, but I ended up just removing all of those squares after it was already applied, which was fine too. But if you want to cut away the area for your decal before applying, you can do that, or you can do what I did and wait till after everything's on your cup. So when I cut away all of the excess edges from the transfer tape, I did leave one strip of transfer tape adhesive open, as you can see there, because that's what I'm going to use as the anchor to keep my template in place as I apply it to the tumbler. If you want to use like painter's tape or something, you can do that too, like how we normally do when we would do a vinyl wrap. So I'm going to use that strip of transfer tape to keep the template exactly where I want it so that I can remove the backing and push the template onto the tumbler. You want to take this process so slowly, like really take your time doing this. You want to make sure that none of those squares get lost in your application. Make sure you don't have any bubbles or anything, and just really go like as slow as you possibly can. If you think you're going slow enough, go even slower. Like really make sure that you get that on there. You don't have any wrinkles or anything, and just really be patient with the whole process. I know that was really like dramatic, but as you can see, I'm going really slow, fully making sure everything is adhered before I move on to my next little strip. So after you've got the template applied, you can go through and remove that big sheet of transfer tape. Now you want to be really careful when you do this as well, because again, you don't want to lose any of those little squares that are in the template. We really need that full coverage for the design we're going to do. So just be careful as you do this. And once you've got the transfer tape off, you can go ahead and remove those excess squares that we are going to get rid of so that we can put our decal down. It's really helpful to know what kind of decal you're going to use so that you know how much room you want to leave for it. I knew that my decal was going to be really long and skinny, and then I would need about like 3-ish inches in width for the decal. So I just went through and removed as many rows of squares as I needed to so that I would have enough room to put the decal down. Now that I've got that area exposed, I'm going to take some painter's tape and mask it off so that we don't get any spray paint in that area. I want to keep that just plain white glitter. So I'm going to mask off this entire section, and then I'm also going to tape off a really nice clean line at the bottom of the tumbler so that we can paint that when we do our paint over our vinyl for the next step. So you can choose to either keep the bottom of your tumbler glitter and have it consistent with this glitter strip, or you can choose to paint it like I did. So I just cut the edges of my tape and then put a nice straight line of tape at the bottom so we would have really nice clean lines there, but you can do whatever you want down there. I spray painted our checkerboard template with kind of like a swirly pattern, kind of stripy, kind of swirly. I used a turquoise and a coral, and I just did this like diagonal alternating pattern. You can do literally any sort of design or style you want to do here. You can do a solid color, you can do an ombre, vertical stripes, this diagonal thing. Literally do whatever you want over your checkerboard. Once my paint was dry, I went through with a paint pen and I marked off all of the squares that I was going to remove to create our checkerboard. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I always like to mark it off before I start pulling decals up because you can mess up and then your whole pattern is ruined. So I like to go through slowly and map out exactly which squares I'm going to pull up so that I don't mess up my pattern when I'm peeling up my vinyl. I thought it would be fun on this checkerboard to do some foil over the paint rather than glitter. Of course, if you want to do glitter, be my guest. I don't think there's anything wrong with extra glitter, but I thought it would be really cool to do kind of like the foil peekaboo technique that we've done on this channel a couple times and apply it to this checkerboard technique. So I'm going to use my Southern Belle glitter foil adhesive, and I'm going to brush a really thin layer over this painted area, and I'm going to let this sit and dry for, I think I let it sit for like 2 hours. You want to make sure that the adhesive is clear. You don't want any of this white cast on your adhesive because that means it's not dry yet, and that means that it's not ready for foils. The foil I decided to use over the checkerboard is called To Infinity. It's from southernbelleglitter.com, and it's kind of like this shattered holographic look. It kind of looks like glitter, and it's just got this really cool, like distressed, funky look to it. So I'm going to lay my foil out on my table, and then I'm going to roll my cup in the foil. Now, because this is such a distressed, kind of like random scattered pattern, we're not worried about full like super opaque coverage here. This is really just adding some extra detail to the checkerboard. And of course, if you want to totally skip putting anything over your spray paint, you can. You can just do the spray paint and then remove all of your squares and have a painted checkerboard. That's totally fine too. Feel free to do whatever you want over your checkerboard. So once I've got my cup rolled in my foil, I'm going to take my squeegee and I'm going to rub down on this foil the best I can to get it to release from this carrier sheet and stick to our tumbler. Once you're done rubbing that foil onto your tumbler, you can remove that carrier sheet. And I decided to foil the bottom of the cup as well. I just wanted some consistency and like a nice flow from the body of the cup down to the bottom, so I decided to foil the bottom of the cup as well. And now the time has come for the best part of the whole thing, revealing the checkerboard. So I'm going to go through with my pin pen and I'm going to remove all of the squares that have a white X on them. And we're going to reveal the checkerboard pattern. I love doing things like this, like peekaboos or designs like this, where you don't really know what it's going to look like until you start pulling up the vinyl, and then it all just really comes to life, and it's so much fun to like reveal the mystery. So I'm just going to go through and peel all of these up, and then we will move on to our next step. Alright, so after all of our squares are peeled up, we've got our checkerboard pattern, and this is what it looks like. So now I'm going to remove all of the painter's tape from the other side so that we can put our decal down and all of the vinyl striping and really bring this design together. So for the decal, I decided to use one that says Weird Moms Build Character, which I think is so hilarious. And I cut it out of this really pretty turquoise glitter vinyl. I will link that down below. I got it on Amazon. And so I sized it at 3 inches high by like, I think 9 inches tall. My cup is about 9¼ inches, so I wanted to leave a little bit of excess on each end, like the top and the bottom of the cup. So I might have made it like 8½ inches, but my goal was to fill up as much of that strip that we left open as possible with the decal. Before I put the decal down, I am going to add some striping to either end of our checkerboard to finish it off. So I cut some thick stripes out of that same turquoise glitter vinyl, and then I cut some thinner stripes out of my silver textured metallic vinyl to lay right over the top of those thicker glitter ones. Now we can place our decal in the middle of that white section. So I'm going to take my transfer tape and apply it to the decal just like normal. And then I'm going to cut away as much of this excess backing from around the decal as possible. This does not need to be perfect. I just want to cut it away so that I can make sure I get my decal as centered and as straight within that section as possible. Then I'm going to use a piece of painter's tape on the top of the decal to keep it in place as I hinge it onto the tumbler. This is the same thing that we would do with like a big sheet of vinyl. We're going to anchor it down on one end so that we can keep it in place as we remove the backing and smooth it onto the cup. After the decal is applied, I'm going to go in and add my final 2 coats of epoxy. As always, for my final coats, I'm using Flynn Sisters Artist Cure epoxy. Now this formula does take a little bit longer to dry, but it has more UV inhibitors in it, so it's going to prevent your cup from yellowing over time, which is why I always use it for my final coats. So that's it for this tutorial. Here is the final tumbler design. I am beyond happy with how this turned out. It turned out even better than the vision I had in my head, and I really hope you all enjoyed the tutorial. I hope it inspires you to create something a little bit fun, a little bit different, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with using this technique. If you recreate this design, please be sure to tag me in your photos at madebymal_studio on Instagram. I always love to see what you guys do based on my tutorials. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up down below. Of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my new videos. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Okay, love you. Bye! I want to say a special thank you to all of my channel members, subscribers, and especially my elite fam. Thank you guys for all of your support. I literally could not do this without you. If you want to be part of the fam, you can subscribe to the channel, join as a channel member, or if you'd like the full shebang, extra content, and all of that, you can join my elite fam by going to patreon.com/elitefam. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you so much, and I'm so grateful for all of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Here's one if you want to check it out. Okay, love you. Bye.